Hi, I'm Don Safnuk, and today I have the pleasure of sharing some of my experiences with Don Rix. Don is well known for his philanthropic generosity and his generosity with startup technology companies. But Don had a special soft spot for social venture partners. Um, you've probably heard stories of the boys at the back of the room. Our grand process in the early years was basically to get our partners to an evening event and vote on the not-for-profits that we would like to support. The challenge was that we didn't really have an endless pool of money. So after we granted one and then occasionally second not-for-profit, everybody would sort of turn their eyes towards the boys at the back of the room to see if anybody would be interested in stepping up and providing funding to support some additional not-for-profits. And if Don Rix was in the room, he was absolutely one of the ones that did that. And without his support and the support of others, we would have not been able to get behind as many organizations as we did. Don supported social venture partners in other ways, though. He did a lot of public speaking, and one of his favorite topics was to try to find a way to weave social venture partners into his speeches. And he would just explain the model, why it mattered, why it was relevant, why it was the future. And several of his speeches, he would finish them by asking the audience to consider giving a little bit of their time and a little bit of their money to their communities. A lot of my conversations with Don were actually not at the board. I was chairing at the time, and Don was on the board, but most of the conversations I had with him about social venture partners usually would typically take place at an evening event. He'd be in the room, he would come over, want to find a quiet spot, and we'd sit and talk social venture partners. He loved the model, and he really liked the fact that it attracted smart people of tremendous capability. So the conversations went deep on the model, and they also went deep on what we could do to make it better. And inevitably the conversations would land on endowment. Now, endowments for not-for-profits are challenging because they're critically important to sustainability over the long haul. But when you don't have a lot of money to cover your basics, it's just a very challenging entity to get started. So after several conversations, Don eventually agreed to match up to $500,000, and after a couple more iterations, this agreed to go to $1 million. He also agreed to go and get involved with a number of events that would help raise money for it. Most of them were centered around recognizing him for the things he had done for the community and giving him really a chance to ask for people to donate to Social Venture Partners Endowment Fund. Unfortunately, this was also the period where his health was declining. Everything that we had hoped to do was postponed and eventually canceled. So he was never able to fulfill that, but he leaves the endowment, which ended up being largely funded by just strictly internal social venture partners, with him matching every dollar. Don was an unsung hero for social venture partners. We probably wouldn't be as far along as we were had he not been as generous and interested in the organization he was, never looked for recognition, but very interested in our overall success.